Welcome to the podcast, NDIS Provider Growth Journey. I'm here with a good friend of mine. His name's Justin, and he's from Willie Works. Justin, why on earth did I invite you onto this podcast?
I don't know, mate. Maybe you just enjoy my time. Maybe you just want to. Maybe you want to learn about wheelchairs.
Maybe I do.
I think most people want to get me on. Most people like yourself that want to have a chat with me will more be curious as to someone who's trying to do the social media thing on LinkedIn and Instagram in our profession, which doesn't often have social media creators.
Yeah, so that's a good try. Okay, the real reason I invited you on is because you're just freaking amazing at your craft. Okay, and so guys, Justin's been spending years helping people learn how to fit the right wheelchair to the right person, and not just for today, but for the long term, which is remarkable. And then he's now training others. And so this is not just for OTs. This is for anyone who wants to build an NDIS business, because he had to start from scratch and then he's gone very big very quickly. And it's partly because he's good at his craft. It's partly because he's put in the effort to market himself well. So Justin, how do you find yourself suddenly in a spot where you've got dozens of people learning from you about how to do wheelchairs well? How did that happen?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think you just got to start. I think people will probably look at the content I'm doing now and think, oh, well, good for him. He's been doing that for ages. But you got to remember, it just starts somewhere. You don't start with like a bunch of people engaged and caring about what you're saying. Mostly because your first few videos aren't going to be great. They're not going to be that engaging. Then people aren't going to be that interested in that. But by keep on showing up, then you start to build a bit more of an audience. And then, yeah, you just got to pick a point to start and then just keep going from there.
Well, you certainly did that. So on your agenda this week, right, how many people are currently learning from you, like in your courses and other stuff like that? I mean, how many people are you already influencing? Because Justin is an example of a leader who's helping leaders, which I get excited about. How many leaders are learning from you at the moment?
Oh, mate, I don't want to say.
You don't have to.
You got to make me sound very vain. But I guess there's on LinkedIn there's 8,000 followers on there, and then on Instagram there's 5,000 followers, and then sadly on YouTube there's only like less than 500. I can't remember last time I checked, but it's not very big on YouTube. But I guess it's more short form content. Maybe I think I do want to have a bit more of a presence on YouTube, and I'll quickly explain why. Because I think YouTube is really where people learn, because it's more of a search function. Google, number one. Number two, YouTube. If someone wants to look for an answer, they go on there. Whereas with LinkedIn, Instagram, not on TikTok. I was, but then I don't know, I'm not on it. Anyways, but with those sort of short form contents, you're kind of just part of the algorithm, and you just need to keep making content to be relevant this week. Whereas YouTube I think it is much better, because people actually search for a certain topic and they go to you and you're right there. And that way you can have content on YouTube, and it's kind of like you've got a 24/7 sales rep who's always there ready to go for your next customer who wants to know more about you. So I think that will be the pivot one day. I think it's just, I'm just really enjoying the short form content. I enjoy being quick and to the point, and I don't think a lot of people that I'm trying to help often YouTube answers, and I know that because I've asked. Like, I do a lot of quizzes and surveys, and I'll be like, guys, what do you Google, or what do you YouTube? And then the answer is, I don't know. Like, some of the answers is I just go to your page, or I speak to a supplier, or I ask a mentor. But for some reason, it's not particularly, because it's such a complex area. I think people assume that YouTube won't have the answers, so maybe I need to change that in the future.
There's a mystery to it. I guess you'll find out. And you're obviously a guy who does a lot of trial and error, okay? And you find what works and what doesn't. And I get inspired when I see what you're doing, because I see that you've grown largely not because you went to 100 networking events, not because everyone knew you 3 years ago, because you went and made heaps of videos on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and it's like you're almost down on yourself. Oh, my YouTube, it's only 500 people. It's like, yeah, that's more than almost anyone I know in this very niche sort of industry. So you've put in the work there, and really that's always been about sharing your knowledge. And when I've seen your videos, it's very clear you know what you're doing, and it's very clear that you are succinct. Like, you don't take half an hour to explain what you could explain in 10 seconds. And it's not self-promoting. And I'm like, that is what we need more of. And the thing is, as NDIS business owners, most of us are still stuck in the Facebook mindset from 2020 of get on and tell people how good you are and invite them to connect. It's like, no, just be useful. And that's what you do. And I find that really interesting. Can you tell me, what's it like working alongside your wife?
It's beautiful now. It's only been fresh. So Emma, my beautiful partner, she's pregnant at the moment, and she was going to go off work anyway coming up, but then we just found a really good opportunity for her to sort of help me with the business that I'm doing more on a higher level now with Willie Works, and I have this course that I'm developing, which isn't public yet, but she's helping me at the moment with just cold outreach, which is essentially just messaging people saying, hey, I'm working on a project, I need a bit of advice and a discussion. If you're this kind of person, do you want to have a bit of a chat? So that's only started this week. But she's awesome at it. Like, she's really good at it. She knows exactly what to do, and she's very helpful in even when we reflect on some of the calls that I have, and we're really trying to understand what people are needing. So we will actually go back and look at some of the calls that I have with people and be like, all right, how are we going to sit and work this out together? Because she brings in a different energy than I have. Like, she's very empathetic. She very much understands what it is that people need, and I understand how to give them that. But she more tries to find the problems, and I'm more trying to work on the solutions.
I love it. And the other thing is, Emma's going to have more rapport with a certain demographic of people.
Yes.
You know, you and I are very much like, oh, there's a problem here. Here's the solution. Go. Oh, you haven't done it yet. What's wrong? You know what I mean? Emma's going to walk with people along the journey. And I found that out when in a previous business that I used to run, my wife was heavily involved, and she was all empathetic and everyone loved her. And I'm like, well, that's such a different way, but it's actually working better than my way.
Yeah, you know? Absolutely.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome at that, and I think this is a good balance. I wouldn't even call her my business partner. I think she really is my life partner, and we're just working life out together.
I love it, and well done, and congratulations on Bubs and Bubs Are Us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What I'm thinking as well is, you've grown NDIS business very quickly. Now, obviously, you serve the providers, okay? You're not serving participants, you're serving providers, and to me, that's just magic. I do that too, but I find it hard to switch off at the end of the day, because like, I'll go inside, I'll be eating dinner, and in my head, I'll be thinking of the different providers I know who are in a bit of pain. You know, like, I get probably 15, 20 people each day messaging me on LinkedIn, and a lot of them are in a lot of pain. I find it really hard to switch off from that, because I'm like, I find it hard to not get negative about the industry or negative about just seemingly unjust situations. And I have to choose to be like, you know what, there's plenty of good out there. I'm going to put this on the shelf. What do you do at the end of the day so you can switch off, Justin?
What do I do to switch off? It's so funny, and I'm not making this up. On the weekend, I was with Emma and I were hanging out with another couple, and we were just talking, and I had another friend that was trying to start her yoga business, and we were just like talking about content and ways to do content, and we're just getting into it. And then her partner was like, mate, is your brain just always wired on to content and business and growth and all this stuff? And I'm like, I don't think it's always wired on. I just think it's just, once you start doing something, you become a lot more interested, and I'm just really interested in it. So now I wouldn't say I necessarily switch off. Like, I don't need to switch off from it, but we do have fun. It's not like I do this all day, every day. In terms of what we did last night, Emma and I have discovered another board game. We love board games. So,
which board game did you discover?
It's called Hive Pocket. It's like chess, but like a really short form of chess. It's awesome. If anyone wants to have a board game with their partner, it's a one-on-one game. It's Hive Pocket. It's really cool. So we do that to unwind. And I guess the weekends, I wouldn't say the weekends, again, are probably like my content day. Like yesterday, I spent the day doing content, but I'll have at least one day of the week where we just completely switch off, go outdoors, go we live by the beach, so we're at the beach every day. But then sometimes we'll go west of Sydney, and then we'll go into the Blue Mountains and just go for a nice walk or somewhere like that.
Yeah, I get that. That makes sense.
What about you? What do you do?
Good question. I have a wife and 2 kids, so I could say That's right. So yesterday being Sunday, is get up, take my son out to Hungry Jack's, believe it or not, because, my son loves Hungry Jack's and so do I. Go figure. And then later that day, I'll take my daughter out to the local pub. We just have like a meal at the pub, and she talks a lot about school and things that are worrying her, so I listen really well, which is the opposite of my son. He just sits there and we just chomp. That's our job. And then later that day, my son had a friend over, so I had to sleep. I escaped it all, and then hung out with my wife and my kids in the evening. And so for me, that Sunday is pretty well guarded, But like you, my Saturdays, I love doing LinkedIn. It's like my hobby. I mean, soccer was cancelled because of the rain, so I love LinkedIn. That's where I was. And my wife's like, "What are you doing? It's Saturday." I'm like, "I'm just playing. Like, this is what I do for fun."
I
how
enjoy
do you
this.
explain that?
Can I ask you another question? I've got a kid on the way. Do you find your work ethic or your work productivity or efficiency went up or down after children?
It was a nightmare for the first couple of years. Okay, and again, like, by the way, you really do need your own podcast. You're doing a great job. It's like anyone listening to this who's got little kids, they're going to relate to this. You do not want to be a business owner when your kids are between 0 and 4. Okay, because at that age, you can't just put them in front of the TV and jump on the phone. It doesn't work like that. When they turn like 4, maybe 5, you can put your kids in front of the TV. You can have that 20-minute phone call to solve a problem. But the early days, what happens is, it's not just your work suffers. It's that life becomes different. So if you're trying to grow a business, because I was trying to grow a business when my kids were little, and your amount of time and energy you've got is constrained. You're living on 5 hours sleep, and you don't have the time you had. And your business, it's not that your business suffers, it's your business becomes secondary to life. But then the problem comes as your kids get older, suddenly life becomes important again and your kids aren't. And I see that among a lot of business owners, and I resist that temptation sometimes with myself. It's like, who cares? As long as you're making a certain amount of money, who cares if you make double that? You're no better off. So as your kids get older, it becomes important to be able to prioritize them. So during the week, my wife and kids know that I'm out of action all day till about 6 o'clock. But on the weekends, that's when my work takes a back seat. So it is different. But the thing is, people, before they have kids, tend to be like, oh, they're going to get in the way of the business. No, they don't. It's the business gets in the way of life, and you realise that once you have kids, And so, what's going through your head when I suggest that?
Well, the reason why I asked the question, you had kids quite young. When was your first kid?
Oh, when I was about 30,
30. So I'm 32 now, and I feel like once we found out Emma was pregnant, I actually feel it's funny. I think pregnancy has given me more motivation and more productivity, and I do think the birth might change it. I will see. And what I mean by that is that once I found out there was a family on the way, it's like, holy dooly, there's so much more energy and motivation to help and be valuable in our profession and help grow the business. And I just wonder I do wonder what it would be like if I didn't have a kid. Like if there wasn't a kid on the way, would I still have this level of motivation and energy to do it? Whereas I think the kid on the way is really helping me be like, all right, now it's not just for me. There's a deeper purpose. Not just for me. It's not just for the community. It's not just for my values and why I even started all this whole journey. But now I'm like, oh, there's a little kid here, and I want to build a life that can be super supportive for our little boy, but also give me the time and flexibility to really spend time with my kid, because I think I really can't wait to be a dad, and I don't want to be stuck away somewhere else and barely spending time with them. I want to formulate a life that I can do that. So that's why I asked the question. So
I think it's awesome.
Sorry to take over your podcast.
No, you're welcome to. You're welcome to. Here's a question back for you. Would be, all right, what do you do if you find that your kids are 5? You've got 2 at that point, 5 and 3. Okay, just creating a scenario. Yeah, awesome. Because there's a lot of people listening to this who are in this spot. Your kids are 5 and 3. You're working about 50, 55 hours a week, and you're earning enough, but you're like, why am I doing this? Like, what do you do at that point? What are your thoughts of what do you imagine you'd be doing? Where would you want your priorities to be?
How do you mean? So, as in, why am I doing the business, or why am I having
How do you
kids?
prioritize? Like, if you've got 2 kids and you're finding, I can't be awesome at work and awesome at home. Again, that's the reality. You can't. where would you want to put your priorities there? Because the treadmill people find themselves on as they grow is your expenses grow. Okay, you start with just a one-person band or a two-person band and almost no expenses. All the revenue is actually profit. But then later when you've got 5 staff, 10 staff, you find that 90% of the revenue coming in is already allocated to expenses. And that's about the time that your kids are a bit older. What are your thoughts of what you'll do at that point? How do you prioritize?
I don't think any parent would want to hear my opinion. Because it's like I don't have that. I don't have the experience there to know that just yet. I just know that the more I can the more options you can set up for yourself, the better. So in terms of your listeners, the more, if you're inundated with business and even employees, like if people want to work with you and if people want to give you work, then I'm sure you'll work any flexibility arrangement you need. But the goal is that first is to build that trust with other service providers, with support coordinators, with plan managers, but also other maybe therapists or in the space that would want to work for you. Because I think that's also really valuable as well, is that companies need people to want to work for them.
Yeah. I like how you think. Well, I guess you'll discover it and then you can let me know and come back on the podcast. Easy. I wonder if they'll even have podcasts by then. Okay. Another thing I'd love to understand from you is if you're out there serving other providers, you're effectively a leader of leaders. Okay. But the more you serve other providers, the more you see the holes in their strategy. The more you see like, oh my goodness, why is this person working so hard when he could just have a virtual assistant do 10 hours of his work each week? I'm like, that's interesting. Now, you work with a lot of leaders. Where do you think that leaders are missing the mark at the moment as they're trying to grow their businesses or as they're trying to fulfill what they need to for their participants?
In my experience, I haven't seen a lot of business owners that are missing. Like, it seems like everyone's busy. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of people that want to, like, are needing more referrals. To me, it's more the two people I tend to help the most is people who are maybe working for an organization and they want to go out on their own and they're scared of doing that. Or they've already got a bunch of referrals, but they want to diversify into other areas. You know, they're working in so many different areas. They're spread across so thin. They don't really have a specialty area. Or maybe they are a pediatric organization and they're seeing kids for neurodivergence, sensory, fine motor skills, behavioral things. And they're seeing kids in wheelchairs, but they have to refer them onto somewhere else. And they're like, oh, we don't like to do that because it's kind of like you miss out on that continuity of care. We also, just turning away business unnecessarily. We already know the client. They're already set up in the system. Like it makes sense for us to be able to give an add-on, which is wheelchairs and seating. And it also de-risk the business with the ongoing changes with NDIS. So those are more the two people that I tend to network with. But it's interesting that there must be a lot of other providers yourself that you work with that are just struggling to get referrals. Is that right?
Yeah, well, it's different outside allied health. So I work for a lot of people in allied health and I work for a lot of people who are, say, in SEAL or community access. In allied health, what you're describing is beautiful and it's harder than it was, but it's still pretty good. But across the board elsewhere, it is like a desert for referrals. But some of the mistakes I'm seeing people make are they're not cutting their expenses. Okay, when things get harder. For example, they've got 10 staff and they know that they've got one massively underperforming staff member. Instead of cutting them, they keep them because they want to be nice or because she was with us from the beginning or whatever. I just see that again and again. It's like, there goes $100,000 that you don't have that you could just put into your good staff. Other things I see people doing is using a lot of manual processes instead of software. Like, why? Like, what are you doing? There's software that might cost $10,000 to get installed that'll save your team so much time. Or another one I see is people who are just not willing to have a crack at life. They've been doing this little segment of NDIS. They don't want to move. They don't want to change anything. I'm like, have a crack. And then I meet you and I'm like, all you do is have a crack. That's all you do. Like, man, and so that makes me actually think another question for you that people can learn from. It's like, how do you accept the genuine risk of going and starting your own thing? Because a lot of people listening to this, they're mid-level leaders or they're high leaders, but they're still safely nurtured in someone else's organisation. Whereas you help people break out of that.
Yeah, so is your question more for people who are maybe scared to start doing this kind of thing?
Yeah, because you work with them all the time.
Yeah, I think if you're scared to post, you're making it more about you, and you really should be making it about helping the people you're trying to help. on the other side of the screen. So if you're so fixated on, oh, people are going to think about this, like don't think about how it affects you. Think about who you're actually trying to help, and you're doing it for them. You're trying to give information out for them so they can see their clients and serve their clients on a higher level. So don't get too caught up on yourself. Try to think about who the people you're helping, and just understand that all this stuff just takes time. Like it takes time. It's awkward at first, but you've just got to you've just got to start, because I'd say you just got to start, and it doesn't have to be so hard. You can literally, like, most people already do content. Like, they do content every day. When they write an email, when they see a client, and they do all these things. So just basically just record that. So if you respond to an email, or like I see you do this a lot, you help people all the time, and then boom, there's your content. Like, I see you jumping on a Loom and being like, all right, well, here's how you fix your website. And you're doing it, and you're like, cool, there's content. And now people know Michael is an authority in this space. So I think it doesn't necessarily have to be a Loom. It could be a response to an email. It could be a selfie after an appointment. It could be after a supervision that you've done, or a supervision that you've received. Just anything that's relatable and authentic, post that. It doesn't have to be the hyper edits and the captions and the sound effects and the like. Just post. Like I met with an OT the other day, and she was like, my favorite content that you do was a segment that I do on Instagram called Progress Notes, which after I see a client, I'll jump in my car, put a selfie on, and then I'll just be like, all right, so I saw a client then, and we thought we wanted to go a front wheel drive, but we realized that once we did this, then we were like, all right, so we definitely want to stick with the mid wheel, even though the mid wheel wasn't able to do this. This is basically, how do we come to this decision? And that's there, it's fresh, it's right there in your head, and it is awkward still, it is challenging to do a selfie. There's something about being recorded that just, your mind goes, ugh. But yeah, there's no way. The only way through it is through it. The only way through it is through it. Yes.
I love it. Okay, so can we hone in on what you're saying here? Is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so, and this is for everyone who needs to put up posts on LinkedIn, or maybe if you're already on Facebook or Instagram, put it there. But if you're new, just you're only going to do one, you would do LinkedIn, because that's NDIS world for you. But the thing is, people, they get all hesitant. I don't know what to put up, because in their head, Justin, I reckon they're thinking, will I look silly? I think that's a question that we're asking ourselves. But then what you're saying is, just put something up, because if your mind is focused on how can I serve people, how can I help them, then that self-consciousness just evaporates. Well, that's been my experience. What about you? How do you get yourself out of that spot when you're feeling nervous about posting something?
Yeah, I just think about keep in mind, everyone's content's different. So it depends who we're talking to on the other side of this podcast. So I'm talking to therapists who are working with clients. And I know that if I do a really good video and I really focus on making this engaging, making this succinct and to the point, it's probably going to help a client out there. And it allows me to spread whatever knowledge I have to much more people. Now, it might be different for other people. I'm not sure how your in terms of your audience, what their goal is with their content. But I think that's also important. I know we're going a bit sidetracked here, but I think you also need to know your audience and know why you're posting. Like, I post to show people I'm an expert, not just, I think credibility comes from when you show, I think credibility doesn't come from when you say you're an expert, it comes from when you show you're an expert. And that's really what I'm trying to do. Now, some of your audience, is that what a lot of your audience needs to do? Like, do they need to show that they're an expert in their field?
Totally. They're using words, and they need to be a bit more Justin about it. Instead of being like, I'm so person-centered, and I'm such a good person, I'm so passionate, everyone should choose me. They just need to be a bit more Justin. How do they be a bit more Justin?
Well, understand what it is that they, like, understand you actually want to show value. Like, there's a lot of things you can do online in terms of, like, hey, we went to this conference, or hey, we look at this Christmas party, or hey, we're hiring. That doesn't really show any value. I think you just need to show people how you do what you do, get people to learn something. And when people learn something from you, that's when they actually start to build trust. And that's when they really start to remember you. You just really need to sort of show up in their face. And yeah, again, don't mind showing up in their face. I don't mind posts where it's like, oh, I had a great day today. Here's a view from some client's house that I was at today. That's fine. Like, those things are fine. But in terms of, like, really building trust, you need to be able to teach someone something. And it don't have to be big, complex topics. It can just be zooming in on one specific point. Like, let's say like you for like websites, you could do hours of content on how to fix someone's website, or you could do a 30-second video on the headline and what kind of headlines you should do and why headlines are so important. Like, that is a very zoomed in specific answer. And even though the person hasn't got all the answers to how to fix their website, now they know that, Michael knows a lot about headlines. He knows he knows so much about that. And the fact that he knows so much about that, it means he probably knows a lot about the rest of it. So I think if people are also scared about giving away their secrets or giving away too much information, I don't think that's possible. But even if you are scared of that, I think just focus really specifically on one specific area, especially when you can't think of content, because you can always zoom in more.
I love this. This is magic. It's like, Justin, where have you been all my life? Okay, so guys, what Justin said there is so magic. He said, a couple of things. One, Justin, you said just demonstrate your expertise in some little aspect of what you do, and then people will see, Justin knows what he's doing, or Michael knows what he's doing, and then from there you end up building a relationship. That leads to referrals, not asking for referrals. Something else you said that was magic there is you said it's not possible to give away too much information. So the LinkedIn course that I run that helps NDIS providers to get a whole heap of referrals from LinkedIn, because remember, outside allied health, that's their problem. Okay. It's like people say to me, but you're going to give everything away, even in like the cheap course. I'm like, I don't care. I want them to use it. What do I lose by them knowing this? But the thing is, by literally giving away the very best I have, well, I lose nothing and they gain. And I just don't see how that can be a bad thing. But I've heard multiple people say you shouldn't do that. I'm like, well, I'm going to, like, what's going through your head, Justin, when I say that?
Yeah, I think there's certain things like, maybe I'm going a bit off topic here, but it made me think of like lead magnets and people. I don't do lead magnets, and I should, but my lead magnet is essentially my content. But lead magnet is stuff that you give away for free in exchange for an email or, to start to build in someone's relationship. And a lot of people will make like here's like the first three steps of the 10-step system of how to fix your website. And they think that's a lead magnet. That to me, I think is a terrible lead magnet. I think it's just, if your lead magnet sucks, then people are going to associate you with suck. But if your lead magnet is awesome and it gives such a good answer and it's so really helpful and it was free, and now they're thinking about engaging with Michael on something that's paid, they're like, if his free stuff was amazing, his paid stuff must be so much better. So I think just get really specific on one particular area, do it so incredibly well that people are like, wow, that is good. And then that builds a relationship. And then if they are ever going to buy something from you, then they're going to be more likely to do that because they know your stuff is Timo Supremo.
Okay, I think that's fantastic. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And if there's anyone who just can't find Willie Works because it's got an X in it or whatever, look me up, Michael from Athletic Koala. Okay, yep. Somewhere there. I'll put you in touch with Justin. I'll put you in touch with whoever you like. Yep. Justin, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. I've learned heaps just chatting with you. Thank you.
Oh, mate, thank you. It's always love to chat to a like-minded person. I think you're doing great things, and I think a lot of businesses are going to be really appreciative of the work that you're doing.